The following are the most frequently asked questions about debt settlement. Can I really settle my own debt? Out of all the questions that consumers ask, this is probably one of the most important ones, and the answer is yes, you can. Just because you're not a professional negotiator doesn't mean that you can't negotiate with your creditors to settle your own debt, the same way that debt settlement companies do. In fact, debt settlement companies have no more influence on your creditors than you. Most debt settlement companies will tell you they don't recommend that consumers settle their own debt for a number of reasons. First, they tell you that settling your debt is a very time-consuming process that requires numerous phone calls and communications with creditors and collection agencies. The truth is that it really takes only 1 or 2 phone calls to each of your creditors, the calls you make when it's time to negotiate and settle your accounts. Second, they tell you that you have to know whether a settlement offer you receive from a creditor is fair. Otherwise, you could be paying too much. While this is true, through the Debt Settlement Bible, we teach you how to determine if a settlement offer is fair or not. And if it isn't, we show you how to make a counteroffer for a lower amount. Third, they tell you it takes a lot of experience to deal with creditors and collection agencies. Experience that consumers, in general, just don't have. This, in fact, is not true. We include the basic tools you'll need, and we teach you how to deal with creditors and collection agencies, so you can properly negotiate your own debt. And fourth, they tell you that you must have the discipline to set aside money every month, a trait that consumers who are in debt just don't have. This part is true. However, through the Debt Settlement Bible's Debt Settlement Program, we show you how to stick to your payment plan so you can successfully settle your debt. And we follow up with you every month to make sure you're keeping up with those payments. This way you'll stay right on track to becoming debt-free. How does debt settlement work? Debt settlement is a process where a consumer's overburdening debt is negotiated to a fraction of what is owed. It is designed for people who are experiencing a financial hardship and are unable to pay, or even keep up with the minimum payments on their credit cards and other unsecured debt. The Debt Settlement Bible teaches consumers how to negotiate their debt with their creditors, and once the debt is paid, it's forgiven. Creditors are willing to accept this reduced payment and forgive the balance rather than risk losing the entire amount due to insolvency or bankruptcy. By negotiating your own overdue accounts, you'll save thousands of dollars on your debt and thousands of dollars on debt settlement fees. It also allows you to regain financial control. How much of a reduction can I expect to get on my debt? This will depend on a number of factors. First is the amount of debt you have. Second is the flexibility of the creditors. And third is the delinquency of your accounts. While individual results apply, if you use our system, settlement reductions can range anywhere from 50 to 70% or more of your unsecured debt. So based on this, the average debt reduction rate is about 60% on the amount of debt you have at the time of negotiations. How long will it take me to settle my debt using the Debt Settlement Bible's debt settlement system? This will depend on 3 factors. 1. The amount of debt you have. 2. How much you can afford to put away every month to save towards settling your accounts. And 3. Your ability to stick to the savings schedule. It's our experience that it can take anywhere from 12 to 36 months to settle all of your unsecured debt accounts. However, individual results will differ depending on these 3 factors. Our settlement program starts getting you out of debt faster because when you settle your own debt, there are no upfront fees, monthly fees, or settlement fees that slow down the accumulation of funds and subsequent settlement of your debt. How much will it cost me if I sign up with a debt settlement company? This varies depending on how much debt you have and the particular debt settlement company you're working with. Debt settlement companies generally charge a flat fee based on a percentage of the amount of debt you have. On top of this, they may also charge upfront and/or monthly fees. The total of these fees can range anywhere from a low of 10% to a high of 20% of your total debt. So if you have $20,000 of unsecured debt, it will cost you anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000. And if you have $30,000 of unsecured debt, it will cost you anywhere between $3,000 and $6,000. The fees that debt settlement companies charge can add up to a lot of money, and our program will help you avoid these fees. How do I know if I qualify for your program? If you're experiencing a legitimate financial hardship and therefore you're unable to pay your unsecured debt and don't foresee being able to in the near future, then debt settlement may be your best option. Debt settlement is designed for consumers who are behind on and cannot afford their monthly unsecured debt payments. However, if you are able to repay your debt in full, you should do so whenever possible and avoid any debt settlement plan. How will debt settlement affect my credit score? If you're already having debt problems, your credit score most likely has already been negatively affected. Debt settlement is a very aggressive approach to eliminating debt, and participating in one will result in a further decline of your credit score. However, once you've settled all of your accounts, you can start to work on rebuilding your credit to get it back to where it once was. Will my debt continue to collect interest, fees, and penalties during this process? According to your cardholder's agreement, your creditors can continue to add interest, late fees, and/or penalties until they are paid. However, once they charge off the debt, which usually happens when the debt is about 180 days or 6 months delinquent, the interest and fees will stop accumulating. Will I still be able to use my credit cards during this process? If you're planning on settling your debt, you can no longer use your credit cards. In fact, any credit cards that you include in our debt settlement program will most likely be canceled by the creditor and therefore won't be active. In addition, if you have any credit cards that you are not including in the program, such as those that have a zero or very low balance, they should not be used. We also advise against applying for new credit while on this program, since it will only add to your debt burden. Your primary concern is to get yourself out of debt, not to compound the problem by adding to it. How is debt settlement different than debt consolidation and credit counseling? Both debt consolidation and credit counseling are programs in which consumers are required to pay back the full amount of their debt, plus interest and fees. These programs add thousands of dollars to debt and can take 5 to 8 years to complete. Whereas with debt settlement, only a fraction of what is owed is paid back in only 12 to 36 months. Is there a possibility of getting sued during this process? While there is a possibility of getting sued, it's not very likely since it's not in the best interests of most creditors. The fact is that you can't afford to pay your debt, and because of this, you most likely can't afford to pay any judgments the creditors may obtain against you. This makes you somewhat judgment-proof. So it's our experience that creditors would much rather settle your accounts than take you to court. Will I continue to get harassing calls from my creditors? By law, your creditors have the right to contact you in order to collect on your debt, and there are 2 ways they can do this, either by phone or by mail. We understand that this can become very intrusive, and while we show you how to alleviate the phone calls, we cannot guarantee that you'll have success in stopping them altogether. There are guidelines that creditors and collectors have to follow according to the Fair Debt Collectors Practices Act, or FDCPA. There's a link on our website where you can get a copy of their guidelines. Do I have to include all my unsecured debt into your program? While you don't have to include all of your unsecured debt in our program, it's highly recommended that you do. Once you stop making payments and start on our program, your creditors will immediately cut you off, whether or not you include them. The fact is that you're in this to get out of debt, and by not including all of your accounts, you won't be helping your cause. Are there any tax implications as a result of the debt settlement process? If the amount you save on the settlement on any particular account is $600 or more, you may be liable for the taxes on that amount, as the creditor may report that savings to the IRS as income on a Form 1099-C, a copy of which you'll receive from them. However, there's also an IRS Form 982 that could help you avoid this based on your situation. If you're insolvent, in other words, you owe more than you're worth, you most likely won't have to pay taxes on the forgiven debt. It's recommended that you consult your tax advisor in order to analyze your specific tax circumstances. Can my wages be garnished by my creditors? While your creditors do have the ability to garnish your wages, the process can be a long and expensive one. The creditor first has to sue you to obtain a judgment, and then has to file for a garnishment action. Because of the process involved, it's unlikely to happen. However, if a creditor does attempt this, you must be given advance notice. Don't give your hard-earned money away to any company that charges exorbitant fees. Do it yourself. Let the Debt Settlement Bible show you the benefits of debt negotiation. We show you how to develop a reasonable and affordable repayment plan to get out of debt cheaper and faster. In addition to this, we also show you how to analyze your current situation to determine the best approach for your circumstances. We're here to help. Let us show you how to break the debt cycle, take back control of your life, and get back your peace of mind. Get out of debt months faster with our program than with other plans requiring monthly service fees or settlement fees. Contact us now to get started on your road to debt freedom. Go to www.thedebtsettlementbible.com to get more information.